everybody, it's me, Calvin. And my most anticipated game of this year was Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and I bought it the day it came out. I even recorded me getting it. Here's that footage. I pre-ordered Kirby and the Forgotten Land. You're all set? And now it's been a few weeks since I got it, and I've beaten it. I have so many thoughts on the game that I'm gonna review the game. Let's just start it. So at the menu, we already see something great. They added a difficulty mode. This has been something fans have wanted for years, because fans thought Kirby was too easy, but now you can set the difficulty. At the beginning of the game, we already see something great with the cutscenes. The CGI is fantastic, almost like a PlayStation 5 cutscene. And this is a Switch. And the intro is so good. In the first few seconds, it establishes that you can swim in water, you can inhale enemies and gain new abilities, and after learning all that, you go down this dark pathway and walk into this huge world with epic music beginning to play. This is one of the best openings to any game ever made. And it's not even a cutscene, so it feels like you're discovering this world. And then we immediately get introduced to a new weapon, and it makes sense to have all these recognizable baddies, but also new ones and a new location, because the plot is that Kirby, Dedede, and the Waddle Dees and Kirby's locations get sucked into a new world, so that's why. But then we get to the first criticism, that the frame rate isn't great. Baddies that are really far away have such low frame rates, but if you're actually focusing on Kirby and what's near you, it's hardly noticeable. And the abilities you gain by inhaling certain enemies are great. Even though all the abilities of your weapon are tied to one button, it feels really great, and you can upgrade them. And you can only upgrade them by finding blueprints and levels and playing bonus levels to get stars. And this just results in every upgrade I do feeling like I did it. And for Kirby's first 3D game, the controls are really great. Kirby just feels great to control, and they even explain the camera, like in Mario 64. You're seeing Kirby through the eyes of your flying mouse companion, and the mouthful modes are so cute and fun. Screw it, I'm gonna rank them. 10, Grillby. 9, Roller Coaster Bee. 8, 4 Kirby Lift. 7, Light Kirby. 6, Kerblane. 5, Vinderby. 4, Truckerby. 3, Kerballoon. 2, Kerbring. And number 1, Kirby. But in the trailer for the mouthful modes, I was worried about them being too creepy in-game and being too useless to use outside of the levels they were made for, like using the Warhorn and Shovel Knight levels outside of the Warhorn level. But in the game, they're flawless. Despite having so many mouthful modes, they all have great controls, and they only appear in levels built around the mouthful mode. But let's move on. Before the final few bosses, we get actual lore. And I have a theory. We see how the boss can consume and gain the powers of other life forms, and is kinda like a blob, which is literally what Kirby is. So I think that Kirby and IDF-86 are from the same planet, and their planet exploded, sending Kirby to Planet Popstar, and sending IDF-86 to the Forgotten Land planet. But they both evolved to be more like the planet they're on. So Kirby landed on a planet that's cute and happy, so Kirby evolved to be cute and happy. And IDF-86 landed on a planet that's scary and mysterious, so IDF-86 evolved to be scary and mysterious. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. But before we continue talking about the main game, let's talk about the mini-games in the Waddle Dee Town. And it's Kirby Tilt and Tumble. Kirby Tilt and Tumble was the worst Kirby game ever, mainly because of the controls, but somehow they made a new version of it that's super fun. It's so fun to tilt around the Switch to move around Kirby. It's so good. And the fishing minigame is even better, because just look at him. And now onto the ending of the game. Holy crap, this is the best ending to a game ever. It's so epic because you start out fighting Dedede under mind control, and you think that's the final boss, but when you defeat him, and Dedede is freed, Kirby, Dedede, and some Waddle Dees are attacked by an army of villains we've fought throughout the game. And when a Waddle Dee falls, Dedede goes back and saves him, and he sacrifices himself to save Kirby and the Waddle Dees. And we see the elevator slowly close as Dedede faces the army. This is such a good redemption arc. He's been the series' big bad guy, like Bowser, and has been trying to rule over Waddle Dees for the whole series. So it's good to see how he actually cares about a Waddle Dee, and he sacrifices himself to save people he considered lower life forms and his mortal enemy. But that's not the end, because then you have to fight a big lion, and he's surprisingly difficult. Or I'm just bad. It's probably the latter. But that's not the last boss, because then you fight IDF-86 itself, and IDF consumes the bad guys and forms this monster, and the boss fight is so good because you can't spam attack it, because you're running from it, so if you stop to attack it, it will attack you, and it'll catch up to you. But that's not the last boss, because then we fight the final form of IDF. This fight is really good and challenging, but then we get the actual final boss. Kinda. When you almost defeat IDF, it uses its power to start levitating a bunch of big stuff on the planet and throws them at Kirby, then starts to pull the Popstar planet towards the planet we're on, to make them collide into oblivion. And when the mouse asks, "How can we stop them?" a big truck falls in front of them, and then it gets epic. Kirby inhales the truck, and they charge at IDF, and you drive onto building to building, floating in the air, and it's so good! Then you hit IDF, and you have to spam buttons, and it feels so epic. It's just so freaking good! And after you finally beat the final boss, you're back on Dreamland like the opening, but there's still some evil magic portals from IDF on Dreamland. So Elfin uses all her power to close the gaps, and she says, I'm not crying. It's so good, it's so freaking good! And they obviously bring back Elfin, but they do it in the best way possible. They show Kirby's sad because he thinks Elfin's dead, but then we see a bright light behind Kirby, and Kirby turns around and smiles at the light. And then the credits play, with framed photos in Kirby's house as a background, and one of them is of Elfin coming through the light. They don't treat you like an idiot. They don't go, "Hey, Elfin's alive. Look, he's alive. Now everyone's happy." They show you hints that Elfin's alive, but then if you're paying attention in the credits, you get confirmation she's alive. And that's the end of the main campaign. But there's still some post-game content. There's a couple levels that are remixed, harder versions of past levels, and the goal is to save the soul of the lion we fought. And that made me realize the message of the game, that people are not black and white. Not every bad person is only evil, and not every good person is only great. Bad people can be redeemed, and you should treat people how you want them to treat you, and you should always try. And that's a message from a Kirby game, and that's Kirby in the Forgotten Land. Holy crap, it's amazing. Whenever Nintendo takes one of their franchises into 3D, they always make them really good. Just take Mario 64. And this is the first 3D Kirby game. And it's a crime we didn't get a Kirby 3D game sooner. This game is the best Kirby game, better than lots of Mario games, and is practically flawless. It shows that Kirby is good at 2D platformers and even better at 3D platformers. It deserves all its sales and acclaim. It's more than worth the $60 I paid for it. I highly recommend it. Kirby can inhale anything. I can inhale stuff. Okay, I'm gonna inhale this Diary of a Wimpy Kid book.